Actually, that's good. Oh, sorry, that's it. Sam's going to be your timer. So you don't need to time it. Sam, you need to just make sure everybody. Oh, yeah. Cool. Is that all good? Everyone's ready? Okay, and we're go for streaming? Okay. Oh, right, okay. Right. Hello to the rest of the world. Welcome to what really isn't Eurovision. Right. I feel a bit guilty having that up there, should I? Let me just pretend that we're in the middle of an event right now. I'll switch back, be a bit more modest. Welcome to BLUG. This is our first primarily in-person BLUG, I think, for some time. And a particular thank you to NIDC for creating this Meetup week, for hosting it, for taking care of everything, for getting food organised and space, and just be wonderful people, really. Fantastic. And thank you, of course, to the band. BLUG, as most of you know, is a bit of an eclectic event. There's a general theme of open source, but sometimes we need to challenge ourselves and look deep inside ourselves to understand the true natures of reality. And one of those is how we make an income, and whether open source has a part to play in that or not. And we're going to have a balloon debate. Some of you may remember balloon debates from the past. BLUG has done a couple of these. We've done the balloon debate to find the best language, which turns out to be equally Haskell and Go, for anyone who's wondering, and what computer science is missing, and the answer there is ethics. That apparently was another finding of BLUG many years before the US government got onto that one. And what we're going to do tonight is look at business models. So I'm going to be debating, and given my deeply entrenched position, I'm going to hand over to one of our NIDC organisers and MC for this evening. Thank you very much. Art, would you like to take over?
Whoa! So excitement in the room! Anyway, well, first of all, I want to say thanks for coming out, because even in the middle of lockdown, we know that there's a community of technology out there that is still alive, right? And that's kind of why we're organizing this NIDC week. For those that don't know, NIDC is typically an annual conference bringing meetups across Belfast primarily, but Northern Ireland overall together for one big day. We started it because there were so many pockets of good communities, having great conversations, like some of the things Phil just mentioned about these debates, and ideas being shared, but they're all quite separate, with very few people migrating between them. So there was a bit of a joke going around at the time about having a meetup of meetups, and that's how NIDC was born. Now, we try to do something every year, but you might have guessed that there have been a few stumbles along the road for the last couple. So last year we went online, and we ran a full conference online from just across the river. It was good, but it wasn't the same as getting in person, which is why we're trying to do something this year. In fact, we had a full conference already organized with sponsors, speakers, and the venue good to go until 1 month before that happened, where it all fell apart. So we reorganized, and this is how NIDC Meetup Week came to be, where we're still trying to bring meetups together and trying to kickstart our community again after all of the lockdowns. We put the work into logistics to making meetup organizers have an easy job of doing these things, because these are pretty hard. So big thanks to you, Phil, for stepping up for this. But back to you, because you've got some fighting to do, not physical, but verbal, around the various software business models. And I will be your MC for this evening. Art, I'm great at this. Believe me, I've done this once before. I don't remember how it went, but I think it was good. So, without further ado, I think we're going into our... with further ado, thank you Flax and Teal for supporting this event. Flax and Teal specialize in quite a broad range of things, but focusing mainly around open technologies, and with expertise in various parts of that. But Phil can fill in the gaps around those explanations in the break times. So now, without further ado, let's jump into the balloon debates. Now, for those that don't know what a balloon debate is, even after Phil explained it, I will explain it again. All of the audience and participants are invited to picture a group standing inside a hot air balloon that is raising up, but as the air cools, it's starting to fall back down. So to survive, the group must choose one person to throw out of the balloon each round. And that's what we're going for today. So please do picture those graphics for additional entertainment. And if you don't like someone, let that influence your vote. No. It's purely based on bias of liking or disliking their arguments. Yes, exactly. So I think we're going to have a few rounds today. The first round will be the proposal, where you speak about what your software business model is and what's so great about it. In the second round, people will get to rebut and contest the arguments you made. In the third, we'll have our first vote, where somebody will be metaphorically thrown out of the hot air balloon. Then we'll have one more round for Q&A from you, from the audience. And after that, we'll have another vote and a final standoff between two contestants, where they will literally, metaphorically battle to the death. All right, so who is the first one to propose their software business model? All right, and your name is? Mike is going to take on the mic. Please take it on. Yes.
Okay. So you can start when I start.
2 minutes or starting now.
Okay, so my business model is about marketplaces, and marketplaces is where you have a buyer and a seller, and the business in the middle, or the beneficiary in the middle, is someone who is benefiting from the transaction between the buyer and the seller. Now, where this applies to open source in particular is that open source lends itself very well to wide adoption and also is very extensible. That means you can have people buying and selling plugins, and the wide adoption means you have a good volume. Now, marketplaces are fantastic because they create a network economy, and why that's good is because, well, network economies are good. That's why we still use WhatsApp, even though we hate Facebook. It creates an incentive for people to hang around. It's very, very defensible business, and they can be very lucrative. But the reason I'm interested in a marketplace economy is because, not necessarily because of the revenue generated out of it, but because the growth of the ecosystem feeds into your other business models of open core and cloud. That is me. Am I on time?
30 seconds left there.
Oh! There we go. So, I'm done.
Don't clap just yet. We haven't decided if Mike gets to stay in the hot air balloon. But please sit down, thank you.
Oh, yeah.
All right, who's up next to prove that they're better? Mark. On the mark. Get set. Go.
I've never heard that one either. Right, so I'm going to be defending the open core business model, which is basically when your main product is open source and can be used perfectly well as an open source product, but where you make the money is by having a closed source proprietary add-on to that, which is worth something to people and which they will happily part with money for. The reason I'm talking about open core is I used to be a developer on a .NET content management system back in 2012, something like that. Quite a long time ago now, anyway. But I was working on the open source side, but at that point, the people who had originally created this content management system decided they wanted to actually make some money out of it. Had a large debate between themselves about the best model, and came out, created a business based on open core. And that business is actually still going, still alive, still selling stuff now. So we can at least say that open core does work. They also, interestingly, do have a marketplace element. So where they came from is that they built up using, sort of market share and mind share using an open source product. And being a content management system, obviously there was a plugin ecosystem to that they developed. So they brought in the marketplace elements to that so that people could actually make their own little bits of money off that by selling plugins. And the way they actually implemented the open core was to use that same extensibility framework to add their own enterprise features onto that. But then not sell those with the standard store, but sell that as a subscription product that large companies and enterprises could then bring in and subscribe. You get the idea. Okay.
All right, who's up next to propose their idea? Bex, I'm out of puns, but hopefully you're not out of ideas of how to present your business model.
So I'm going to be talking about consulting using open source technologies. And I've had lots of time to prepare this and have all the arguments that I could possibly muster up in 5 minutes. I guess the question is not why would I use open source technologies? Why wouldn't I? Why on earth would anyone choose open core or closed source technologies in any of their business when you have the option of using any open source technologies? The marketplace is so burgeoning with many, many types of open source technologies that do many, many different types of things. The community is very strong. There is security, there is scalability, both horizontally and vertically. Why should companies have to settle with some kind of vendor locked in costly framework and software where they can't do anything other than go to that one seller and ask for more, please, sir? Why then would they have to be stuck with this one vertical pipeline of software where you're relying on the vendor and seller to be securing it and doing all these sorts of things in behind the scenes when you have absolutely no idea what's happening? Huh? Why? Yes, I judge you all if you say open source is crap. The end.
Almost straight into the rebuttals round, I think. I'm not sure, but is there anyone else? I don't know. Is there? Oh, we've got one more contestant stepping up. Okay, Phil to the microphone.
Woohoo. Flex and teal. Oh, this is taking a lot of my time. Flex and teal. So, as you know, I'm a big proponent of closed source solutions. Now, thank you. And that's basically it. The Roman Empire. So one of the things that we're very much aware of, when we look at history, is how the Romans managed to take and improve and evolve a lot of the elements of society that were clashing and chaotic. And actually, post the Roman Empire, we see a return to a lot of the challenging scenarios that were happening. And even going through 1,000 years later, the benefits of that period and some of the challenges of that period, admittedly, were evident. But what was it that made the Roman Empire strong and effective? When there was conflict and chaos and dissension and different groups that were not coordinated, they were. There was a top-down system. It wasn't necessarily always dictatorial. There could be correlation. There could be cohesion. There could be consensus. But it didn't mean that you had to say chaos. And closed source is effectively a modern reinterpretation in many ways of that idea that chaos can be coordinated. If we go into a company and we look at some of the closed source that has managed to change the world, from building bridges to giving us document management systems, the power to innovate and to evolve and to coordinate singularly and uniquely from one point is extraordinarily powerful. And it doesn't need to reject users. We can include users. We can coordinate users' feedback. We can evaluate users' feedback and work on that basis. Not on what developers want to do in an open source chaotic approach, but in a secure way and an effective way, and in a way that actually engages with whoever we understand the stakeholders, the end users of our product to be. And we have a built-in system for helping them invest in our value.
I think tonight we've heard it all. We've had people building networks, seeking balance, trying to destroy their enemies already, and those seeking to build empires. But now it is the time to tell them why they're all wrong. Who is up? Huh? What? There's more. Excuse me, there is one more. Martin? Martin, which model would you like to propose today?
I don't know. Maybe I'm in the wrong room. But what I would like to talk about today very quickly is my idea called Workshore. Workshore is a web platform to facilitate hybrid working. What's that all about? Well, I want somebody to buy the platform off me for about £100 million in about 5 years. That's the reason for it, if I'm completely honest. But why would anybody want to do that? Well, I'm an accountant. And I spent 20 years working in a rabbit hutch. Same desk, same place, 7 o'clock in the morning to 7 o'clock in the evening. I don't want anybody ever to have to work like that again. I want every single one of you to have choice. The second thing is, I am a social animal. I love to network. I love to talk to people. But if we provide people with that facility to hybrid work, to work wherever they want, there's a possibility that you'll lose connection with the people that you want to be connected with. So what we're going to do at Workshore is we're going to create a web platform that facilitates the opportunity for you to work anywhere, anytime, with anyone, while at the same time maintaining community so that you can build a personal network, so that you can build credibility, so that you can build relationships, which will result in happiness, joy, profit, and all the good things that come out of a brilliant web platform, which will be worth £100 million in the next 5 years. Thank you very much.
A different kind of software, but all right. So, is this on? I'm not sure. I think this is on. So, who's ready to tell them why their contestants, their competitors, were absolutely wrong about their ideas? That those ideas are worthless. Who's first? Mark. Mark is eager to disrepute people's ideas. Let's go.
Yep, we're still on. Right. I'm going to attack all of them. Right. First of all, I'm going to attack the consultancy model. It's not scalable. You personally can make money out of that. If you try and grow consultancy and support, it just gets too much of trouble. That's why all the big companies outsource to partners for all that consultancy and support stuff. They just don't want that hassle. So, yeah. Yes, you can make a little bit of money for 1 or 2 people, but it's not a scalable model. Right. Marketplace. Good, but are you actually doing anything useful there? You're just taking a cut off other people's work. I mean, I know that's what Jeff Bezos does, and it works for him. But it doesn't feel like you're building something. An open. All you're doing with your open source is giving something for other people to write their stuff on. That's okay. The Roman Empire. I mean, yeah, they got some things right, but it all went horribly wrong at the end. Their governance model was actually to let the people that they conquered carry on doing what they were doing, just with a little extra structure. So, so in a way, that's kind of open source. They're saying, we'll bring in and we'll just modify a little bit what you're doing. We'll come in and put in a few pull requests for you. And anyway, you don't even believe it yourself, so. And the community thing that you're going for, and you're sort of making it out of building it out of lots of little people, aren't you? Doesn't is that a closed source model, an open source model? Is it a model at all, or is it just, you know?
You're in for heading in for fun.
So yeah, all your ideas are not complete rubbish, but yeah, they're all limited. Sorry, I was just getting going. I was just starting to enjoy myself. Anyway, okay, who's next?
While Mark was booing at people off the stage, we also had to ask him to come off the stage as the time was over. Who's up next? All right, let's go. So we're actually going straight into rebuttals because I didn't realize there was comparative. So just feel free to, wait, comparative is, basically the point of this round is to tell them where they're wrong, is that correct?
Yeah, so we changed that one slightly.
Yeah. You're right, they're wrong, that's the round.
So we're combining comparative.
Okay. Good. Goodbye. Well, because I feel so incredibly attacked by your unkind words, I will go for open core. And what is this open core? Open core is just a way of saying we're just adding some closed source code on top of your nice open ecosystem. And is it really open then? Can you just ditch the open? Are you not just locked in now? Okay, so yes, sneaky. Yeah, the consultant. Yes, you have to work too hard. you need to make money while you sleep. That's the key. So I can't be having that. Oh yes, the closed source. Yeah. Well, you know what? I loved your presentation. It was really good. That's all. And yeah, again, you're just closed source, right? You're just closed source. You guys stick together. Good. So, can I do my rebuttal as well on my marketplace? I can't even remember. Oh yes, you said I wasn't adding value. We weren't adding value to the world. Marketplaces, we have a buyer and a seller. You are creating entire livelihoods for people with your service. You're connectors of people. That's what you are. You're centralization of wealth. Okay. I'm done.
All right, we've got room for more. And more after that. Bex? We'll just keep going for now.
Either yes or no.
I'm the MC today, okay?
All right. So I have no idea what it is you're selling. I don't. It's like, is it LinkedIn? Is it Facebook? Is it Teams? Is it Skype? Is it basically? Why working remotely? You can do that at home. I don't need your platform. Marketplace, I can totally bypass you. I don't need the marketplace. I just go to the company and say, hey, I want your product. Why do I need you? Why do I need you? I don't know why I need you. I don't need you. With yourself, open core. Now, I was actually going to do a talk I would have got on a soapbox to talk, yes, about why open core is actually everything that's wrong with the world. Essentially, it's like, here's this wonderful idea of like free education, open source, the fantastic thing that open source is, but by the way, you're going to have to pay for it to be able to use it properly, or in fact, to use the really cool features that we've got on this, you're going to have to pay for it. I'm from Ballymena. That's just so against my grain, I can't express my feelings of dislike for open core. And open source, as a consultant, I would say that I am absolutely scalable because the more open source products that keep coming onto that marketplace that I can bypass to get to, I can help companies improve their business and they can scale up, which gives me more work, which I can do in my sleep. You are right. The end.
Thank you. All right, who's next? Anyone feeling?
Okay, consultancy. I do a lot of consultancy. It's hard and it's underpaid and it's pure grind. So who wants to do that? Go and do something else. Easier. The Roman thing, yeah, they all died. Open core, that's just too complicated for me to understand, and it's because I'm stupid. You make me look stupid, and no, not that. And Michael, I'm not sure I can afford you yet. I'm sure you're brilliant. I'm looking forward to the day that I can afford you, and when I can, I will agree with whatever it is you have to say, because I'll be paying you to. I think that's us. Anybody?
Succinct in syncing your business models. I don't know. Anyway, one more. Ooh, speaking too soon.
Right. So, anyone who's been to Rome will know that Rome lives on. Right? Let's just get that out of the way. So, okay, I'm going to move left to right here. So, consultancy. Do you know, everyone else here has pointed out this fundamental flaw of consultancy is that you have to actually do lots and lots of work. Whereas if you build something that does all the selling for you, job done, don't need any humans involved in that one now. So that's the main issue there. In terms of your product, I think it could be quite interesting. Work sure, yes. Now, as a business model, the question is, if I have to build a workshore, and we're all having to build workshores, how many workshores can we actually build to make this a scalable business model for the rest of us? It's a lot of workshores. So you need to get your workshore working right first before my workshore has to work in the same way as your workshore does. We have to share our work. Now, third one. I feel like I've missed. Oh, yes, there you are. Marketplaces, right. So marketplaces are great, but only if you can control them. And that's the one thing that you take out when you make the middle bit open source. Fundamentally, as a closed source company, I want to actually be able to take the profit from the market, and I don't want another marketplace popping up competing with me, because I've just done all that work to get a marketplace. How many marketplaces do we need? Confusion reigns, especially when I'm talking. Now, you. Open core. Problem with open core is, fundamentally, all you get are these really enthusiastic people who love open source, wherever they are in the world anyway. They turn up, they come and they use your product, and then they are exactly the people who won't pay for it. There you go. Whereas I, Mr. Closed Source, the people who want to pay for my product, they're already paying for it. They start paying for it, they keep paying for it, and the fundamental value add of the Roman Empire is that it built loads of bridges, and those bridges are still there, still functional, and you can keep taking your carts across them today. Thank you.
So we've got some people building shores, some people building bridges today. Would you like to do the run of rebuttals first or the vote straight in?
Well, it's up to, I'm going to put this up to the debaters. Do people want to do a rebuttal round the points first? Or do I think we should kick people out. Okay, start kicking out.
There is murder in the air, and people want to get rid of someone. So let us start from the right to the left. So voting for kicking, 3 votes each. And you get 3 votes each. So you can vote for the same person 3 times. You can vote for the same person once. And we're voting to kick them out of the hot air balloon, and they will fall to their death while you survive. The person with the most votes will be thrown out of the hot air balloon for our entertainment. So, voting out closed source / Roman Empire, we've got 2 votes in the room. 3 votes in the room. If I give it more time, maybe there'll be 4. Going once. Oh! 5 votes to kick out closed source / Roman Empire. So, we've had the closed source. How about the open core? Who? Oh, we've had 1 misfire. 4 votes for closed source. Against open core, where we have an open core and closed add-ons. 4 votes against. 4 hands pushing them out of the hot air balloon. It's tight. It's a tight vote. Now against, I'm not sure, this business model of community. Who's voting out Martin today? Oh wow, quite a few people are just reaching over each other trying to push him out of this hot air balloon. All right, we've got 6 votes. Next, we've got the marketplace. Who doesn't like marketplaces? The Roman Empire, of course. 1 vote against marketplaces and against the world of consultancy on open source software. And not me, I'm not even voting. We've got 2 votes against. So 3, as Martin is being pushed by this mob of people out of the hot air balloon, he's trying to push back and falls to his death, still arguing for the business model he proposed. Thank you, Martin. All right, that is the first death of the night, metaphorical. So, next up is which round? So now that the contestants have seen, this is real. They are even more motivated to defend their views and just rebut all of this stuff that has been said about them. So, starting first with Mike. As some people's face masks say, careful now.
Oh, thank you. Yes, so just bringing it back, that this is, remember, about business models, about creating good businesses, okay? And I would just take the ethical standpoint out of it a little bit and just say, you know, it's about making money, okay? So I'm bringing you back to network economies. Why marketplaces are so defensible is because it's very, very difficult to move a large group of people, to make them, you know, disperse. If you build that crowd on top of an open source product with a large adoption, and you capture that crowd in one place, then you can siphon a little bit of that value out. There's enough value for everyone. There's enough to go around. Don't worry. It's okay. You can take a wee bit off the top. It's all good. It doesn't harm anybody. We feed our families. We're not evil. We're the marketplace. And yeah, we make money while we sleep as well. Facilitating people's livelihoods. Don't forget that bit as well. Because we are helping people make businesses off your marketplace. They're feeding their families as well. Think of the children. Think how many families are fed. Think how many families are fed at the marketplace. Thank you.
Some excellent takeaways that I remember is 1, we are not evil, and 2, think of the children. Wonderful arguments to go together. So next up, Bex.
I'm not evil either. I'm a human being too. Rebuttals. I think I made them all last one, to be fair. So open source technologies. What is... Yeah, so that's the bit I'm not quite sure I guess. I don't know what we did the first time around about just explaining what we were for. Yeah.
I think we slightly forced us to actually do both.
Yeah, this is like, I'm all out now. Yeah, consultancies are evil, but we're actually not always evil in a sense. You know, we actually do a good job sometimes. The open source aspect, scalability. You know, I made the point last time. Scalability. We can build on top of other products and more products and more products. So there's always money to be made, yes. Money to be made. Someone said, I can't remember who it was, someone said you can't make money out of open source. Well, it's, or something to that ilk. You can totally make money out of open source by doing stuff that nobody wants you to do. Nobody wants to do, no one cares about how to some people don't know how to write Python or Rust or Haskell or Go was the other popular language that came out of that other one. People don't know how to write that, so they just hire somebody who can. And these are languages that are open source. So you can make money out of open source products. So you consult on open source products. And there will always be business as long as there's people willing to be lazy. Yeah, so, like, that's it. That's really...
I was recently told that people only remember the last 5%, but I also remember the first 5%. We're slightly not evil, maybe 5% of the 5%, and also something else. So next up, who's next? Open core.
Yeah, because he got chucked out, so he's not in it anymore. Ha, ha, ha. Yeah, all I would say is I can rebut each of you by pointing out that open core actually incorporates each of you. Because the original open source product started off with people actually making their own businesses of providing support and extensions for this open source content management system. So we have the consultants who are not making money while they sleep, but they are making money while they're supporting people who are using the open source platform. There is a marketplace on it, and people were making money out of selling plugins, for that open source or not. And in fact, the closed, the closed core, the non-open core, the closed core, whatever you want to call it, is in fact part of that marketplace. It's just you're taking all the money instead of some of the money. And it's closed source, the bit you're making the money from. So yes, it's all of yours, all together, all better, and not evil. We have a thriving community of little open source people all working on the open source platform, and you're just taking a little off the top of that. That'll do.
Next up is closed source with Phil.
All right, so back to yeah. Taking you all back again, right? This marketplace is sounding very sort of, I don't know, very Athens to me. Anyway, there's a number of points that have been raised here about closed source, and particularly about the fact that bringing open in helps make users more independent and helps them make decisions, helps get buy-in from developers. And really, for me, part of the question is, what are the risks associated? When you're bringing that level of input and buy-in and your business model is so dependent on people who are writing code, who are deeply understanding the systems that you're using and selling, what risks does that entail? Does that stimulate competition? How can you protect IP that's not source? As a closed source company, you've got a very clear dividing line, a very easy protection. We talk about all of these systems, and all of them have a high level of risk for people getting familiar with how you work in a marketplace, in an open core environment, and even in consultancy. One big challenge that closed source addresses is that users can actually be incentivized and led through the process of building a direct competitor. With closed source, the issue never arises. Fundamentally, to challenge you, they need to start from scratch. And actually, people have been talking about taking a little bit off the top. Why take a little bit off the top when you can take a big bit off the top? And even better, if you take a big bit off the top and your users are able to sit there and just get served, shrink-wrapped on a plate, here you go, plug it in, switch it on, away you go. There's none of this writing code. Writing code? What's this? That's my job, not your job. Hence, we are invested in closed source to make life easier, simpler, more efficient. Switch it on, and the cart start trundling. Right.
I'm not sure what kind of microwave meals were just being described there, but you can plug them in. Vote again. A conversation takes place off stage.
Sorry. Yes to a vote, and everyone gets one vote each.
So now we're going for voting out again, and by voting I mean pushing people out of the hot air balloon. So, starting with the last, who is pushing out the Romans with their closed source microwave meals? With one vote each. One hand reaches forward and get two hands and get a stern look in return. How about open core? Who's pushing out open core? Two more people reach for open core. Three. The closed source Roman is dragging out the open core against marketplaces. One hand pushes. And lastly, consultants. Consultants, almost unanimously, are getting a side eye from the rest of the hot air balloon and are pushed out with low effort and high efficiency. So, that's us for this round of votes. Up next is which round? So, questions. What we'll do is people will come up here and be asked questions from the audience. Right? Yep. Let's go. 3 people.
We'll use this one to answer if you want to pass that.
All right. So please socially distantly sit on those chairs, and we'll take questions from the audience, starting just against everybody. Questions from the crowd at the crowd. Who's first?
Mark, how do you stop people from like putting the viruses on your stuff, on your open source stuff?
How do you stop people putting viruses on your stuff? Well,
Like,
the important bit that makes money is yours, so it's closed source, so you can't get viruses in that bit. And yes, you stop people putting viruses into the open source bit by having peer-reviewed code check-ins and all the rest of it. So because it's open source, many eyes, people will, in theory, notice when people put bad things in there.
fair.
My name is Martin Gilchrist from Workshore. If you remembered anything else tonight, that's the most important thing. And my question is, and it's you can all answer this question, why is your offering most important to my business?
What's your business again?
Turn.
Why is your Well, okay. So why is it my business model is most important to your business? Well, you're a community. You're trying to drive this community model. Your community has lots of a diverse set of interests. And therefore you need, the reason that a marketplace would be good for you is because marketplace gives you options. It gives your users options. You have a community, and a marketplace fundamentally is a community. And you can have people buying and selling from both sides and having options. You need to build flexibility into your platform, but give people options and see where they run with it.
Open core is what you want for your business because you can try the core platform first for free, give it a try, and then you can either continue using that open platform, or if you need the extra features, you then know what you're going for and can buy into that.
So why do you need the Roman Empire for this business? Just repeating the question.
Roman Empire is excellent at delivering on large-scale acquisitions. So the reason that you want a closed source model is that I'm sure you can drive a lot of value from Workshore if there's not someone turning up your doorstep with shirt war. Closed source, keep it in the house. Everyone else is going to have a lot more difficulty trying to actually build a competitor.
Got a question from Mike, from me. Sorry, Bex, just a second. So I heard this story about the early days of Apple, where they built a platform with Marketplace. And somebody decided, hey, guess what? We're going to help people make money from these apps they're building. We'll let them put ads in the apps. So Apple said, hey, this is a great idea. We'll buy your company. And they negotiated a whole deal for it that was favorable for both sides. And at the end, Steve kind of said, you know what, I don't want to pay that much. So of course, that was horrible. And he was like, hey, this is bad form. Come on, Steve. And Steve said, well, Andy, you're going to take this price or Andy's little apps aren't going to work on Apple anymore. So how does the Marketplace deal with that?
Well, the thing about a marketplace is that there's lots and lots of people involved, and one person doesn't really matter.
And it doesn't matter.
Go away.
Dear closed source. Closed source. Why should I trust you?
Why should anybody trust anybody?
Especially the consultants.
Fair point.
Any more questions from the audience? One more. I think you've got a question.
What happens? What happens to each of your models for, let's say, a product that requires long-term maintenance? What happens if each of your marketplaces or companies or developers just goes belly up?
Well, because open core has an open core, the only bit that goes belly up is the proprietary bit. So you can still essentially continue using the main product without having to worry about stuff. So you certainly don't lose everything. And the bit, obviously the closed source bits will continue to work for as long as it needs to work to get the data out and put them into the open core bit.
Well, Marketplace is really just a connector of different things. It is not a fundamental piece in the architecture of any system. It connects things up. You buy your goods, you can buy whatever it is you're buying. Marketplace goes away, then it's just the families that are livelihoods that are based on it that suffer. But your systems are okay.
Because he's added no value, there's nothing to lose.
So the main distinguishing feature here with closed source is it's one business model that means that we won't go belly up. And actually, if you're concerned about the size of our company, it won't be an issue once we get bought out by Facebook, and you'll be able to receive billions of pounds of investment in the product that you have been using for some time.
And I think that's us for the questions from the audience. We're ready to murder once more. So, similarly, with one vote each, and yourselves included, don't be biased, let's see who's voting out closed source. 3 votes against closed source. How about open core? 3 more votes, 2. And lastly, the marketplace. 3 again. We need a tiebreaker. Which one did you vote for, Emma? Marketplace? Andy, you're out. Mike's little apps don't work in the marketplace anymore. Thank you, Mike. Super. And I think we're one more head-to-head round. Super. Thank you, Mike. If you take a seat. Final summaries, correct? Starting with the robots.
So how long do I have? 10 seconds? Oh, Sam, sorry. Okay. Okay, I'm going to have to stand up here because Rome had to make a last stand too. So a final summary, I think we've heard a lot of detail about different business models, about the challenges and about the benefits. And actually a lot of it's very theoretical. I think what we need to do is open our eyes. We need to go outside. We need to look around. And we need to see what the marketplace says. And the marketplace says overwhelmingly closed source. I invite you to name companies in your head valued at more than 50 quid, which is valued at more than a significant amount of money, that do not have a fundamental flagship closed source product. Microsoft? No. Facebook? No. Apple? No. Google? No. What's their business models? Look at this. What? Sorry? I didn't mention Mozilla. What about, where's the rebuttal in this? I invite you to look at the startup ecosystem, to look at venture capitalists. Where are they looking? Do venture capitalists go, hey, that's open source? Some of them do, but they're a little bit odd. What is the actual evidence that we are seeing? When you switch on your computer, how many pieces of open source do you see, if you're not me? How many? If you go into a shop and buy a product, what is that product? It's not a marketplace. It's a marketplace where you buy it from. So, closed source has fundamentally won this game. Let's just give up, go home, and accept I'm right.
Thank you, and over to you, Mark.
Well, honestly, I think you're going to have to vote for Phil because the scales have fallen from his eyes and he's had that devastating moment. And he has now seen the light. But meanwhile, in the open core world, open core always comes from a point of purely open source. What open core is fixing is that thing of, okay, I'm an open source contributor, I have wasted my entire life on stuff that people just shout at me and don't give me any money. And so open core is how you manage to take that open source product and turn it into something that you can actually continue working on, but as somebody who gets paid and makes money and generally has a business and a life. So, yeah, open core, open sourciest of all the ideas tonight. Only the tiniest little bit of closed source, just enough to let you actually make some money and have a nice life and feed your children and all that sort of stuff. So, anybody who's been an open source maintainer will understand where I'm coming from here. That's my pitch, but yeah, well done.
Thank you, Mark. So, with the final death round, let's vote yes. No, but good question. So, with the final round, who's voting out open core? That's Mark, by the way. 2?
Oh, now they know it's
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Open against Mark, open core. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 against Mark. And how about Phil? 1, 2, 3, 4. Wow. So next time, when Phil has to present at BLUG and introduce a balloon debate, we must say that the correct answer is closed source software. And to close off my presence as the MC, I will say this: are you not entertained?
Thank you very much. First of all, thank you very much to all of the competitors. Really appreciate you've all been very flexible at the last minute, and obviously that was something I was using to tilt the scales in my favour. So thank you all. It was entertaining for me anyway. Thank you particularly Sam for arriving, and as is traditional in BLUG, someone in their first BLUG is invited to organise. And thank you especially Art for emceeing without any notice or information or any details. So thank you. Now I've made my acceptance speech. I feel it's the start of a comeback, and I feel that LUGs have been one of the major barriers around the world for closed source, and I feel that we've started that movement. We've taken one lug so far. Join me. We can go round. We can get Linux user groups, and we can invite closed source into the friendly family. So I should point out, if anyone is interested, as someone who runs a business that is primarily focused on open source, if anyone is taking snippets from this video and uses them, I will find you. If anyone wonders what the rebuttals that I would use to any of the things I said was, please do come ask. And thank you so much. Okay, gives you. Okay. Well, the Roman bit was a bit confusing. I don't know. What was that about? Well, actually, okay, so for example, prevalence of businesses. Actually, I think you made an interesting point there with Mozilla, but the fact that the environment has substantially changed in the last 30 years, one of the reasons is obviously the internet, but also the fact that the growing prevalence of open source has always been held back by the fact that marketing is very difficult for open source communities. And actually to produce an excellent product and have it accepted by a commercial entity that is much more used to traditional marketing, that's an almost unbelievable achievement that open source managed to do around 2000. It took over web. Fundamentally, everything that we do is driven by open source, which makes it commercially viable. So when I say, all of these companies, fundamentally what you're looking at is the last mile. The last mile has been traditionally closed source. The bit of product you're interacting with, everything behind it has become increasingly open source. For actually the reasons that you were saying, Bex, around consulting, fundamentally, even if you're producing software, it's the same question. You're having to reinvent the wheel if you're not doing it with open source. So, I'm not going to rehash this entire debate. But yeah, I can do that discussion anyway. Thanks also just a shout out as well. Mike, I know you've been coming from Buddybase as well. Thanks so much. Please, if anyone's come across Buddybase, I've been looking at some of your stuff. It looks really cool. No-code platform. So a great example of business models in action. Obviously, Martin, you've mentioned Workshore that you've been working on. What even are you doing? Okay. Yeah. Well, you did for the last half hour, so thanks for that. Bex, do you want me to do a shout out for NIDC? Yeah.
I get a mic. Industrial IoT, digitalizing digital transformations within manufacturing facilities, industry. Lots of SMEs around Northern Ireland, lots of large tiers as well, but mostly SMEs, and a lot of them have no idea how to even start to become digital, never mind do a transformation completely. A lot of the machines also aren't connected and so on, so it's talking them and talking through how to go about getting their machines online, getting data that's useful and accessible, and not just manufacturing, it's other industries as well, but fundamentally it is connectivity and data, which the world is made up of.
Thank you very much. Did you want to say anything? I realise you're probably the only person who's not got a chance to.
Yes. I'm Mike. I'm founder and CEO of Buddybase. We're an open source low-code platform. And much like what Bex was saying, it's all about digital transformation, often in traditional industries where, for example, you would have someone walking around a factory floor, filling out safety checklists on a clipboard, putting it into Excel and having it get sent to a database. That's what we're trying to replace. Often just simple data collection on the floor, and building software and these low-code products is going to be part of our software development future. For me, it just always had to be open source. We've seen this play out before in history. All these infrastructure type products, they all end up being open source, like Phil, you mentioned. So, that's what our bet is.
Inspired by yourself there. Thank you, Mark. That's how we chat together here. Yes. So one thing, I may not be a consultant, but I am actually a big proponent of open source. So the idea of using open source always has to, for me, has to be open source technologies, mainly because of the reasons I did say at the beginning. I don't want to trap people into a vertical structure. So in manufacturing, there does tend to be a lot of single solutions, and they only go to that single solution looking for answers to the problems that they think they have. In a lot of the cases, those are the problems that they have, but in some cases it may not actually be the problem that they're having. It's actually understanding the data that they have. So open source allows flexibility and being able to move across and try new things, but fundamentally understand what data they're producing and how to make then informed business decisions based on optimizing and so on and so forth. So, yeah. Open source, yay!
Everyone's having a go. I want to go too. One thing, and this is slightly differently from the open source arguments we've been talking about here, you might not know, but NIDC is in many ways open source. Never mind our website that's online, that's I tried to make some pull requests to, but all of the meetups we've got around Belfast in this community, the meetups are people stepping up and sharing code and sharing ideas. That's open source, and without that, I don't think we'd bring ourselves and the people around us up as much as we've done. So, big up to open source. So never have I ever thought that I would be invited to an open source Linux BLUG meetup by Phil, who runs an open source business and consults on it and pushes it and advocates for it so much, winning an argument in favor of closed source after inviting all of you here to not only beat your arguments but his own. So I had fun tonight and I learned quite a bit, and I hope you did as well. So thank you for coming, and after this we're going to have a small social nearby. You're welcome to join. Any closing words, Phil?
No, just to say thank you again, and also thank you, Martin, for actually jumping in as well and spicing things up a bit. What is it? So this is part of the, I should be standing up, shouldn't I? Part of the flexibility of BLUG is that it is a bit kind of chaotic, a bit random. I think at one stage this evening, hello to people who have joined us, but I think at one point this evening we had everybody in the room except Bobby actually had a role in this, as an organisational role in this meetup. So sorry, Bobby, not to just reject your organisational skills, but BLUG happens. I think we're some 70-something months in, consecutive months, which feels quite remarkable, since 2015, and we're hopefully going to carry on that way. Next month we haven't made any firm decisions, but I think we're due a technical one. We've been looking at doing something to do with hacking on bugs one way or other. Some of you may remember that we do fun bug competitions with hard drives as prizes that are several years old and being thrown out by queens. But we put stickers on them, and that makes them really worthwhile and valuable. So keep an eye out for that. And we, fortunately, some bad news, hot off the press, only several weeks old, is that FOSDEM will be remote this year, which is sensible. For anyone who hasn't heard of FOSDEM, it's the European-wide free and open source developers meetup, and was actually one of the inspirations for how we structured NIDC originally, back in the day. But we will be doing events around that. We do have a program of events going up to March, I think now. So keep an eye. We're on NI Tech Slack in the hashtag BLUG channel. When I was young, it was just #BLUG, but anyway. And thanks so much. Thanks from Flax and Teal as well. And please enjoy food and drink. Goodbye. Why you should never work with this company ever.
essentially my same debate.